And we are back. Welcome to another episode of The Bigger Picture, in the throne room. We are here with Sean Bigga, our most esteemed guest. And we are now going to drift into part 2 of the makings of the man of God. How are you this morning, Your Grace?
God is good. God woke me up on another morning to be able to greet the people and try to right some of the wrongs that I've done in life. And that is always a joyous moment. It's always something that, it's a blessed moment every day that we wake up. Every day, everyone wakes up. We are all blessed because we wake up to the breath of life. And the breath of life is God. And that's a blessing.
Amen to that. We're going to pick right back up where we left. The theme song that is playing at that particular moment is Criminal Minded. Criminal Minded, you've been blinded. We're in high school now. Let's delve into your first exposure to organized chaos. Let's talk about the Decepticons. That is, for all of you who are millennials, when you hear Decepticons, you may think about the Transformers and all of the stars and the special effects. But once upon a time in New York City, there was an organization known as the Decepticons. And some of their antics and activities were being played on the news on a bi-nightly basis. So can you share with us your experience with the Decepticons?
All right, so at this time that skips forward into a lot, so we have to see what got me to the Decepticons. So what started all of that? Again, I don't these I'm doing this because I do understand that my story will impact so many people, but I take no pride in my past. It actually brings tears to me. I was a victim, as I explained to you guys before, and I was a victim for so long that I guess it did something to me. And the point to be a part of something where I wasn't the victim. Hurt hurt people. That's very, very real. And I happen to be a product of that. So when we got off last time, I'm fresh back in New York. I'm at, the high school where I'm a nerd. I'm Urkel. I don't have jeans, sneakers, nothing the other kids have. I talk very proper, straight from private school, straight A student. And as I told you now, I'm with Chris and Corey,
The brothers.
the brothers. So that year, after the classroom, I was just so happy to have found a niche or found some guys that'll be there for me because I hadn't really experienced that in my life. Where I came from, again, like I told you, the guys that I grew up with was cut from the same cloth as I was. So it was no, and then even them, they didn't, help me. It was just, I was by myself, so that was the first experience of just brotherhood. So I started being with Chris and Corey and, these guys every day, they crew, their individual crew. And like I told you, me and Corey became actually best friends when they took me in. Now, they were tough, extremely tough, but they were well seasoned and they were Harlem guys. So Harlem guys was very different around that time. Harlem was always about his money. You know what I'm saying? It was never kind of, it wasn't too much wow, like, on a gang type of aspect. They was more about money. The blocks and the guys was more about making money. From what I could observe at that time, because mind you, I'm a kid, green to the whole situation. But that's how Corey and, his brother and those guys was. They wasn't troublemakers. They wasn't gang guys or anything like that. They was just tough. Nobody messed with them, and they was from the element. So I was with them every day. And they didn't go to class. We didn't go to class. That was, the whole thing back then was to hang in the lunchroom and, and different things like that. So I think I had fell victim of that, being so happy to hang with the brotherhood. And I wasn't going to class, being with these guys, and I haven't even went to a school that had a structure like that. That was another thing. I didn't even understand. How could you cut class? How could the teacher tell us if we want to leave, we could leave? I never had even experienced anything like that. Like, if you didn't show up to class in private school, their teachers was on the phone with your parents that day.
And there was nowhere to go.
Exactly. So the teacher said to us that day that if y'all don't want to be here, y'all can leave. The door is right there. It was an open door for kids to leave. We're children. How we have that much power to make decisions whether we want to be a part of school or not? That was a new experience for me, But like I said, I was enjoying being with the guys and being with the fellas, and that was something impactful for me. So that led me away from being in class. Now, at the same time that I'm fresh back home in New York, and I'm being with Chris and Corey, the guys that's actually in my building, the couple guys that were already to the street that, before I was, that I grew up with, have now finally started to take notice with me. And maybe because I'm at the age at 14, again at 14, I'm probably like 6'5", it was a lot for my mom to probably deal with. And now that I look in the past, that, that was probably, the overwhelming stage for her, because she didn't have the full control as what she had before to just tell me I couldn't go outside and play with the other kids. So now, yeah, I'm going outside and I'm trying to mingle with the other kids, the same kids that, all my life will be teasing me, jumping me, and that basically I was at war with these same kids I'm trying to associate with, because again, these are my neighborhood, I wouldn't say neighborhood friends, but they are they're the guys that's in the neighborhood that I did, grow up seeing. We all grew up, seeing each other. So yeah, of course, you want to, be familiar with the guys that close to your age. So yeah, around that age, I started hanging with those guys as well. Trying to find my way pretty much. So in school, I'm with Corey, and then after school, now when I come home, the couple guys in my neighborhood that I'm trying to, become a part of, that, I'm trying to be with them. So they were popular too. They were from the element as well. So during that time, I think I started, there was a school in Harlem called IS-10, and everybody know what I'm talking about. That was a public school. Wasn't my school, it was a school in Harlem. But at this point, I'm cutting school, and then Dwayne my best friend, my brother, my everything, he started cutting school in the high school he was in. So now we're hooking up together every day at his house, you know, cutting school. And we have, again, my friends that is from my building, my family, my cousins actually, you know, because sometimes relationships, as you know, go deeper than even us. Our parents are connected to each other in some way. So sometimes you might not be blood related, but you can't be.
Still family.
Exactly. You can't be no more blood related. So I have people like that in my family that are my family, you know, and that I'm talking about that come from that element that at that time now I'm connecting with that, you know, we grew up together, but they were of the element before I was. They was able to go outside and play as kids when I wasn't. So now I'm hanging out with them. They have the ties to IS-10. They have the ties to the street. They have the ties to the element. I'm just starting to be able to even be with them. So IS-10 is right downstairs from Esplanade Gardens, which is where, you know, Dwayne lives. So one day when we're cutting school, we go downstairs and we happen to see all the guys, you know, from my building. You know, we see, you know, my family. We see my guys I grew up with from my building, like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Now I'm putting together, he go to school, that's his school, you know? And they there with just a massive, massive amount of Harlem guys that were just destructive, misguided, hurt people themselves.
A posse.
A posse is what we were. And I never forget it. It was amazing. It was just like, again, me and Dwayne were the same. We private school kids. This was our first year in public school, and we were probably cutting public school because it was overwhelming for us. We couldn't handle it. You know, we should have never been there.
The access to freedom
Yes,
was
it was
overwhelming.
overwhelming for the both of us. We should have not been there. We should have both went. Should have not argued with our parents and went back to Rice because that's where his parents really wanted to originally put him to. But we didn't want to go to the all-boys school, and we was thinking we was tired of private school, the uniform, the suits all the time,
The
you know.
structure.
Yeah, you know, which that was a big mistake. But that day, of course, they embraced us because again, these are like my family. These are like my cousins. So they like chill with us, roll with us, see how we do. So me and Dwayne, yeah, we'll be with you guys. It's like 50, 60 of these guys. We start going throughout Harlem and everywhere we're going. These guys is beating the shit out of people, robbing people, you know, just taking stuff. We go to 125th Street. People start running for their life when we go to 125th Street. The Africans selling the bootleg stuff start packing up their stuff, running. It was a known thing. Like, soon as we would hit the block, people would know, run. You know what I'm saying? And it would just be nothing but all us wild kids just running, hurting people. You know what I'm saying? And the first day, it was so many of them, and there was so much going on. I would never forget me and Dwayne. We talk about this often. Again, we're both 14. We stepped off the train that day, and we both looked at each other. And there was so much going on, we really couldn't embrace each other and talk at that moment. Because again, it's like 50, 60 guys, and they're trashing everything around them. And I actually, again, I have penny loafers on. You know what I'm saying? I have on the dress pants, the button-up shirt, because that's all type of clothes I have, and just these guys was just going. So me and Dwayne look at each other, and we give each other the look like, you know what I'm saying? Whoa, bro, are we safe? This over our head? Like we don't, you know what I'm saying? We don't know nothing. These guys is hurting people. This is deep stuff. So we looked at each other and we just like, we got to get back to the house, get back to the crib when this is over and figure this out. So when the day was over and me and him went back to the house, we made a pact that we wasn't going to be the sheep. You know what I'm saying? Like, these dudes is wolves. These dudes is straight wolves. They wolves, and this is what it is in life. We grew up watching wolves, and now we got a chance to be kind of associated with some wolves, and we seen firsthand, because we always saw the wolves on the outside, but now we was actually in the pack. And we seeing like, oh man, this is how it goes down. This is what it's really about. And all we decided was we looked at each other and we made a pact with each other that we wasn't going to be the sheep anymore. We wasn't going to be the sheep. You know what I'm saying? And that day changed a lot in my life. You know what I'm saying? So now fast forward, and how do we get to the Decepticons? I don't like naming names because, that's a form of incriminating people that did not sign up for that. So, I would never name names. That's something that goes on social media and stuff like that. I won't do that. If I name someone named, it's because that's my brother, and I wouldn't be naming their name in any type of way to incriminate them in any crime or even a life story that they wouldn't want told. They would have to be in agreement with that. So anybody that I'm not naming names, this is why I don't, you have to be in agreement with that. So again, at that time, the leader of, the Harlem, structure that I was a part of at that time, that was, pretty much controlling the whole 60 guys. It was several. It would be like 2 or 3 leaders, but, they all, one of them was my family, and then another one was, another guy that to this day I'm extremely very close to. He knows who I'm talking about when he watches. He's my brother as well. They all took very close to me, even though, and I never understood it, even though I was a nerd. I didn't even have regular clothes, and I was so green, I didn't know nothing about the street or anything. But, I don't know, that was one blessing too, that God always gave me. People always took to me. He started going to high school. He was in high school, and the high school that he went to was Park West. And Park West was, as those that know, was a home, a big part of the home for the group of guys that you just named. Now, my guy, he changed his life now, and I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of you. But he was a terrorist back then. He was a killer. You know what I'm saying? He was a killer. He was a very dark entity. Dark entities connect with dark entities. So I guess when he got to Park West, they took to him. They already, he immediately they must have took to him because he became a part of them. And when he became a part of them, he called from the 60-man crew that he already had running in Harlem, he called his close ones, which I would be one of them, you know what I'm saying, and to come be with him over there. So that's how we got to the Decepticons. So later when he calls us to come to Park West to meet up with him and start being with him with these guys, that's how that whole thing started, and I had already by now experienced the running with the 50, 60 guys, running throughout the city, going to different high schools, beating up people, going everywhere throughout the street, just beating up people for nothing, and taking what they had. I had already experienced that. But when I got to Park West and got with those guys, we went from like 50 to, man, it was over 100 of us. It was so many guys that you could not see. All right, so if you wasn't in the front of the pack, you wouldn't get any action if you was in the middle or behind, because the people, by the time you walk past, it would just be people laid out and all type of stuff. And these guys was, that was just a different level of hurt. And that was again another time I regret, because again, hurt people. I knew that was not who I was. That's not who I wanted to be. That's not, that's not who I was and wanted to be. But I think was, again, affected by my upbringing so much, by being a victim, and now to be on the other side and to be learning, that's what it was.
Can you describe coming home after a day of deliberate chaos with that group? Because the Decepticons was primarily made up of teenagers, and the level of destruction, violence, it almost moved as a terrorist organization throughout the 5 boroughs. When you would see those stories on the news, on the front of the Daily News, the New York Post, all
I was
of
a part of some of them.
all of the publications, because there wasn't, like you said, the group was so large, law enforcement wasn't even able to identify who the members were. Because as you said, when they would show up at any high school, it would be almost like a cloud, a sea of almost faceless entities, right? So when you would get home after your day, having not gone to school, having being a part of it, what was that like when you would see Decepticons allegedly, assaulted this person, knowing that law enforcement was actively creating a division to stamp this entity out? What were some of the thoughts that came in your mind when you would see it in the media?
Well, at that age again, when I would get away from them, I would think about, for me, I would think about the hurt people a lot, more than anything. The images live with me to this day. And God, that was almost like a punishment from God, because what he was allowing me to see was myself. He allowed me to look at people afterwards, because I wasn't really, but like I said, it was so many guys. It wasn't like that you had to be in it, because it was going to happen regardless. It was so many. So it was like I was always more of a spectator, but a spectator, still was in the mix, you know? So it's not like I wasn't in the mix, but I wasn't so much, you know, the one that might have been kicking, stomping, stabbing, or doing any of that. But yeah, I'm still in the group. So I still get to look. And I, again, like I said, if you was in the middle or behind, the action was already done. So so you just basically walking by looking at spread out victims everywhere. And the faces and the hurt and what was taken from them was what was taken from me. So yeah, of course, I would see stuff on the news a lot. It was a lot of stuff like that. I don't know what I was going through at that time. You know, I was going through, again, hurting people. And me having the opportunity to be a part of some guys that, you know, all my life I probably might have in somewhat looked up to and wanted to play with and go outside and associate with or see what they was doing, but I wasn't allowed to. You know what I'm saying? And now I have the opportunity now to, you know, be with these guys and on a different level and see deeper inside of them. And again, they were hurt kids. You know, they were all hurt kids, all had situations that I couldn't imagine and that my mom had protected me from. These guys' mothers was drug addicts. They didn't know their fathers. You know what I'm saying? They come from criminal families. This was all the stuff that I was protected from. So I was getting close. I was able to see, whoa, this is the reality of all of these guys' lives. When they went back home, they were going back home to homes, because we go visit each other homes, that I couldn't understand. You know, like it was a secret, like a, how can you tell your friend, your mom, you know what I'm saying? Like, how could you say that? And I'm at your house and I could clearly see that's what, you don't got no furniture. You know what I'm saying? You don't got, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you know, that experienced me to see all of those things. And yeah, you know, see that those, it was more to what meet the eye. So God was allowing me to see it from a level that I didn't see it from as a child. Meaning that these kids, other kids that clearly I thought were demons, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, it was a reason. It was a reason why they were like that.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever a time that the conversation came up at home?
No.
Because it was just so all over?
No. Again, my mom was losing fast control at that time. You know what I'm saying? She was losing fast control, you know, because I was so big and probably so fast that she couldn't just snap her finger and make me do what she wanted me to do anymore. She couldn't come outside with the belt when the sun went down, you know how she used to do. You know, it was those things that changed. Yeah, I had one of those mothers that when the sun went down, if I wasn't upstairs, she was outside embarrassing me with the fur coat on, you know, coming outside with the belt. And mind you, I wasn't able to leave the green gates. So I was still in the development of the protected zone that I come from, you know, but I had to be upstairs in the house before sundown. But now I'm 14, you know, I'm back from, you know, living with my aunt and uncle, which was supposed to work, but it didn't, you know, and it's overwhelming things, you know, so yeah, became overwhelming. No, I didn't speak to my mom much about anything that was going on. It was already known from before that. The whole reason I was sent upstate was for the element that was New York City. So I just think at that point, I don't know, maybe she was dealing with it a lot with God and prayer. And I know that's what it probably, was. But no, we didn't speak much. And they didn't know what was going on with me in school. Because again, public schools don't tell. Public schools don't tell. So my parents had a wool pulled over their face. They straight A student, straight out of private school education, is going to a public school for a whole year, and they don't know that he's not going to class. When they actually call my parents to tell them that I was cutting class? When they called them and told them?
I think they would just send letters.
No, nothing. They did not tell them that, contact them and tell them I was cutting school to June.
Pretty much the completion of the school year.
At the end of the year is when they told my parents that I wasn't going to class.
Was there a surge of power being a part of the pack, the wolf pack?
When you say surge of power, did I feel power?
Did you feel a surge of power?
Again, the power came from the brotherhood.
Right. Okay.
The being with a group of guys, that obviously come from situations, but have made a pact to protect themselves. And it's just communion alone, you know what I'm saying? That's power, just to be with the brothers in communion. And at that time when you were a kid, that's where I would have felt the surge of power that you're speaking of. And a surge of power also comes with, again, so I understand the mentality of so many of the youth. If you associate yourself with this, maybe the wolves won't come for you. You know what I'm saying? If, you associate yourself somehow with them. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that, is always, it's definitely power to, I guess, be in the wolf pack.
In safety.
Exactly. And to be in the wolf pack is some form of power.
I want to just move a little bit because this is all around the same time period. The nation of gods and earths.
All right, so this is what comes up right next. So that year,
First, share with our audience, because the nation of gods and earths was so pivotal for the late 60s and 70s babies. I don't know if there's an understanding of what that was for us, the babies of the Panthers, the babies of the NOI, the babies of the movement of civil rights. I don't know if our audience really truly understands what the nation of gods and earths was, how we got a Rakim Allah, how we got a supreme team. Could you just share a little bit about what that was, the nation of gods and earths?
All right, so the nation of gods and earths comes from, all right, so you have 5% of the population of the planet Earth that are the poor righteous teachers. The nation of gods and earths are of the 5%. part of the population of the planet Earth. That they teach that the black man is God. The white man is the devil. Um, and it spins off from the Nation of Islam with Elijah Muhammad and Clarence 13X and Malcolm X. The lessons that they have, the 120 lessons, is written by Master Farad and Elijah Muhammad. They're basically questions and answers. When Clarence 13X left from with Malcolm X, he started his own. He took the 120 lessons and started what you have now as the Nation of Gods and Earths, which their base is located in Harlem on 127th Street. And now getting the speed how that all comes about. Again, at the time in June, the school hadn't told my parents yet that I wasn't going to class. They just finally told them in June. So when they told them in June, I was given an ultimatum to either I'm got to go to class, or, I can't stay there, and I had, at the time, was hanging out with my other friends that was from the building that's pretty much my family. Their mom was staying in the projects over in St. Nick Projects, which is right next to the Nation of Gods and Earths. So I just was like, look, I'm gonna go hang out with them for the summer and stay over there at their house, to avoid my mom, my dad with, this, stuff. And I'm already getting out there, So I just want to hang with them, be with them. Because again, I just love the brotherhood, So I started staying over there, staying with them pretty much. Now, I had always saw the school, but I used to actually think it was a Muslim mosque because I didn't know. I'm 14. I don't know what, it was yet. So I walked past it a lot. So now that I'm in St. Nick, staying there that whole summer, I'm constantly walking by it every day. And it was always on my mind because my private school is just a few blocks from there. So I always saw this place. So around that time, being the Bible thumper I was going to school, me and my best friend Dwayne, at this age, of course, we started probably challenging a lot of stuff that we were reading in the Bible and going to school with around to the earliest 11, 12 years old, me and him was already challenging a lot of that stuff. And during that time, I had came up with the idea at maybe as early as 11 that I had it figured out that, I was God. And even though it might not be understood, you know what I'm saying, my mind and my education as far as what I had learned, that's what it had added up to me, saying, wait, so I'm God. That's what it must be. So I was already thinking in that mentality for a few years before I even knew there was a Nation of Gods and Earths. So now, fast forward this day, I'm walking past and I stopped this day and I asked him, what is this? What is this place? And the brother said, this is the Nation of Gods and Earths. I'm like, what, that's a Muslim mosque? You know what I'm saying? He said, no. He said, no. the black man is God, or So I said, I don't really know so much about the black man being God, but I'm God. So, you know what I'm saying? So this sounds interesting, you know what I'm saying? I will be,
Intriguing.
yeah, I'm willing now to, you can speak further. You know what I'm saying? I could listen. And that, shout outs to my enlightener, Adu Allah, who was actually the top of the food chain. You know what I'm saying? He was the lieutenant of the FOA. You know what I'm saying? And someone very powerful within the nation. Everybody that know the name I just said, no, yeah, that was who I was speaking to. He became my enlightener, and he brought me in as that 14-year-old kid and started teaching me. You know what I'm saying? And giving me the lessons, gave me the lessons, and I became a part of. Now, oh, wow, I became a part of another brotherhood that was something different, that helped pull me actually away from what I was doing up until that point with the games of these are men now.
These are men now. These are
yeah,
warriors.
These are men.
Absolutely. There is when we think about the presence of the gods and earths today, from Erica Badu to, I don't think the youth now understand how many lives the nation of gods and earths saved. The intent of saving, the intent, the deliberate action of filling those holes. Because as you said, many of the youth were in dark activities, not being educated. In order to be enlightened, there was an education that took place. There was reading, there was memorization. You had to be able to recite and know the day's mathematics on sight.
Absolutely.
And
had to know your 120.
You had to know your 120. So that was the perfect distraction from those activities, because organized chaos is still chaos. There's no lessons being learned. There's no goal. There wasn't a goal. That's what made the Decepticons such a horror. Being enlightened, would you say that was a life-saving moment?
No.
No. What would you say? What would you title it as?
Exactly what it was. It was enlightenment. But sometimes, enlightenment don't always come the way you think. Adam and Eve got enlightenment, You know what happened to them when they got enlightenment?
Eviction.
Exactly. Kicked out the garden and promised death.
Pain.
Yeah, so no. Life-saving, more like life-ending. Life-ending as I knew it. I love the nation of gods and earth, and I'm still, to this day, I can never not be a part of them. I'm those are my brothers. I'm too many years, too intricately wrapped into the making of that. When that school burned down, these hands you see, you know what I'm saying? They're part of the hands that helped build it back up. Shout outs to Big Daddy Kane. When the school burned down, he was the one who came directly to the school and helped give us the money to buy all the materials and everything to build the school back up. Shout outs to Big Daddy Kane, right there standing with him. The hip hop experience at the time, the nation of gods and earth controlled hip hop.
Absolutely.
Because every single important person that was rapping was
God body.
or fronting. You know what I'm saying? We had a lot of fronters. But you know what I'm saying? But everyone wanted to definitely be a part of that niche. So they actually controlled hip hop. So at 14, 15 years old, I became, no one knew how old I was. I probably looked it like I look now. You know what I'm saying? I became one of the biggest bodyguards for all the rappers. So here it is now, and that was an amazing experience. That was through them. Here it is now. I'm 14 years old protecting Big Daddy Kane. I'm protecting Rakim. The next year, Brand Nubian came out. I'm protecting Brand Nubian. I'm sitting with RZA before Wu-Tang, when he was talking about the plans. I'm sitting with Hassan Unique Allah. You know what I'm saying? Old dirty bastard. Before there was a Wu-Tang, building with the guys. So yeah, to see, I watched all of that in play, and then again, was they bodyguards when they became successful, because they're all protected at that time by the FOA. And mind you, I'm high up on the FOA. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm one of the, mediocre dudes. So during the Nation of Gods and at that time, if you ever went to a parliament, if you ever went to anything like that, you had to go through these hands directly. You know what I'm saying? I had to directly pat you down coming through those doors, So I'm, again, very, high up. When the rappers doing their shows, I'm right there protecting them on the stage, And that opened up the door in the world of me learning the protection business and protecting high celebrities at a child, but no one knew. No one knew how old I was. Only, certain of the guys knew, but at that time, I was already being trained in something that to this day I try to train some of these guys in. Silence is golden. Keep your mouth closed, God. You know what I'm saying? When you open up your mouth, you let those know what, they don't know about you that they shouldn't know. Keep your mouth closed. Stay silent. When people do not know anything about you, that puts them more in a fear perspective, because they don't know how to come at you. So I was mastering that already. It worked. No one knew how old I was. Now I actually see the guys and they be like, how did you go in a time machine? How you still young? How you still like this? God, I was only 15 back then. Be like, what? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was just a kid. You guys was in your 20s. I was 15.
What was your God body name?
Wow. All right.
Because everyone had to take on a name. So what was was it given to you, or were you able to select it?
So at first, it was Saquon Allah. And I think that was just because that was as closest to Sean probably as could be possible. You know what I'm saying? But after that, it was Savior Born Allah. Because I always, and that one, again, my background, what I'm saying? And I always kind of had a feeling that that's what I came, those that know me, you know what I'm saying, know that I was saying that ever since probably my mom told me when I started to talk. I asked her one time, but that was always with me. I always kind of thought that I was supposed to be a sacrifice for it. I knew I was here to,
Was today's mathematics?
Well, you caught me off guard with that one. But wait. Give me a second. Nobody tell me. You know what I'm saying? Is that it all goes according to the date, and that is very good because you should know what today's date is. But since I don't know what today's date is, off back, and I don't want to guess and be inaccurate, what is today's date?
October 28th.
All right, so that would be wisdom built to destroy, or being born to knowledge, cipher, or being born to knowledge. So it's a breakdown in that, So if today's the 28th, you said?
Yes.
That's wisdom.
Yes.
Build or destroy. You know what I'm saying? And it's all being born to knowledge, your cipher. Be aware of your cipher. So wisdom, be wise to build. You can take your wisdom and build or destroy. Take knowledge to the cipher that's around you, and it's all going to be born to knowledge. So that's how that breaks down. And that even goes to your age, and it goes to everything like that. And it has very great significance to it when you understand it. It does have great significance to it.
Very powerful. And we like to close with the theme. We're closing out the chapter of the gods and earth because it has contributed so much to the makings of the man of God as so many of your other experiences. What would be the theme song?
With the
That
nation
chapter.
of gods and earths. All right, so again, this guy here, I can never really kind of get away from, even though I have stories about him dealing with the nation of gods that wasn't so, nice, but I gotta go back to, it would be my philosophy. It's still, it's still under the, knowledge reigns supreme. I can't, I can't get around, there's a lot of stuff back then, but knowledge reigns supreme still was kind of, the impact of him hadn't died yet. We haven't got to that part yet. You know what I'm saying? His influence still was everything at that time, even though, he might have not agreed with the exact, ideology of, the nation of gods and earths. He still was, like the key figure of my thoughts at that time. And my philosophy was,
Powerful.
yeah, it was something.
To be continued.